the Warren Commission was a joke. There was never a proper investigation. Till this day, it's never been properly investigated. And so it goes, right? Par for the course with our government.
Yep. And let's go back. Trump promised to release the full documents of the Kennedy assassination.
Right.
And, I do a podcast every week with Judge Andrew Napolitano, and Napolitano said it on the air. He said, I called up Trump. Now, this isn't his exact words. And I said, how come you're not releasing the documents? You said you're going to release. He said, if you saw them, he said, it would shock you. He said, I can't do it. And then Biden promised to release them, and he didn't. And RFK Jr. said the CIA assassinated his father and his uncle. And by the way, as you know, I launched Occupy Peace, and my last rally was in May, and I had Dennis Kucinich, who at the time was RFK Jr.'s campaign manager. RFK Jr. is a campaign manager. He's no longer the campaign manager because Kucinich is for peace, and RFK Jr. is supporting Israel's genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza, and supports Israel 100%, and very stupidly speaks about Israel and the rights that they have to defend themselves. And Max Blumenthal, a Jewish guy, Gray Zone, was on with Jimmy Dore after RFK Jr. was, and Dore said, listen, he started talking about Israel, and Dore said, I can't, I know about it. He said, but I'm not that qualified. I'd like you to discuss this with Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal spent time in Israel and in Palestine, the Gray Zone. Then he wouldn't come on. You could go to the video of Jimmy Dore and Max Blumenthal, and Max Blumenthal basically says, not his exact words, that RFK Jr. is really ignorant about this whole thing, and it's just a lot of crap spewing out of his mouth. So I no longer support RFK Jr. either, and I demanded that I get my donation back, and I donated the maximum amount to his campaign because I believed he was for peace. But he's just another piece of crap out there that, Israel, right or wrong, they have the right to defend themselves and kill whoever they want.
Well, isn't it, Gerald, partly, it's such a powerful Jewish lobby in this country, and, there are so many politicians attached in one way or another to those power blocks that they figure if they're going to be elected or stay in office, they've got to go along with the party line.
Well, you could go to Open Secrets, and there's a whole list of all the ones that get all the dough. And fairness and accuracy in reporting. FAIR just did a whole big article on it about all the money that the politicians are getting from the Jewish centers and AIPAC and others. Right over here, and you've been to Kingston, right around the corner from me. This guy who's the congressman, Pat Ryan, 2 weeks ago, there were over 2,000 people from this terrible, terrible Jewish group. I say that sarcastically. Jewish Voice for Peace, which are blacklisted from the news. There was a full-page advertisement they took out in the New York Times. There were over 2,000 people out here protesting.
In fact, when the Jews who were supporting, not supporting Hamas, but calling for a ceasefire, at least, when they invaded the capital, and there were thousands of them, and these were Israeli Jews that are against the policies of Netanyahu and what he's doing. And the way the news presented it, it sounded like they were anti-Jewish, non-Jew protesters against Israel. They were Jewish people that were against Netanyahu's policies, what's going on now with the war.
The
but
media...
It wasn't presented that way.
No, the media calls them pro-Palestinian.
Right.
That's a pro-Palestinian protest. That's the same one here. No, it's Jewish Voice for Peace.
Yeah.
It's not pro-Palestinian, they're for peace. And again, I have to tell you, I've been getting, I'm having nightmares. You see the Trends Journal, how big it is and how much we write in it.
Yeah.
I get nightmares because I have to write about this every day, and watching the slaughter of over, there's 13,000 people now, over 5,000 children. I got banned from the last video I just did on Trends Journal site because they said it was hate speech.
Yeah.
So you know what the hate speech was? There's a major article came out. Here it is. More than 10,000 civilians killed in Ukraine since Russia's invasion, UN says. Just 2 days ago. I said, boy, the Russians better catch up. I said, 21 months, only 10,000 people. I said, they got to catch up to Israel, man. They killed 13,000 in a month and a half. You Russians are really way behind. Obviously, I was being sarcastic. They call that hate speech.
Yeah, Maury, what they're doing is criminalizing dissent. Now, where are we headed with this? You know,
they criminalized dissent when you wouldn't believe the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
It's a total takeover of our government by the military industrial complex, big tech, the banksters, and the drug dealers that people call big pharma. Total takeover.
Yeah. You know, Kennedy, when he came in, JFK, you know, no matter what you thought of him, the promise and something that a lot of people were inspired by, were hopeful of, was that it'd be a new direction for the country. And, you know, he threatened to break the CIA into 1,000 pieces. You know, he knew the corruption that was going on. He knew the runaway power that a lot of these agencies had with their secretiveness. And he was trying to reform that or eliminate that or control it. And, you know, he lasted 3 years in office. Now, since then, Gerald, I mean, everything has gotten worse, has it not? There's been no improvement in what Kennedy says that he was trying to do 60 years ago.
Yeah, he was our last decent president, as I see it. Again, anybody should read, and this is RFK Jr. has the gall and the nerve to repeat what I'm just going to say. And that's addressed to the graduating students at American University on June 1963. It's all about peace. He goes on to say that we should not hate the Soviet Union. He said they suffered more than anybody else in World War II.
Right.
Operation Barbarossa, over 20 million, he says, were killed. And their farms, their factories, and their homes and land were destroyed, the equivalent of Chicago to the East Coast. He goes on to say that if we go to war against the Soviet Union, it'll be an atomic bomb war. And life on Earth will be destroyed within 24 hours. And the destruction will last for generations. He goes on to say that we need peace. And the final words, America will not go to war again. That's June, July, August, September, October, November. 5 months later, Jack, you're dead. 8 months after they kill him, LBJ ramps up the Vietnam War. And we both are old enough to remember those days. I'll be 77 next week. I was prime draft meet. And I want to make this clear. I, as a young kid, swallowed the crap that the mainstream media was saying that if we don't stop those commies in Vietnam, those dominoes will keep falling. A little scum, William F. Buckley. And before you know it, those dominoes will fall all across Asia and they'll hit the shores of California. I believed it. The only reason I did everything I could to beat the draft is I didn't want to get my brains blown out because in those days, they used to have a media that used to cover the war and you're watching American soldiers being slaughtered and taken out of, and when the airplanes would come back with the caskets coming back, and they were going through water this high up to their chest with holding a gun over their head with 50 pounds of weight on their back and getting shot. That's the only reason I don't want to go. But I was stupid enough to believe it. And they're doing the same thing with the Ukraine war. If we don't stop those Russians, before you know it, all of Europe is going to be, and then the United States, same thing, same crap just spewed out of the mouth of Netanyahu, that we're fighting for the world, we're fighting for the Middle East, we're fighting for America, because if we don't stop Hamas, before you know it, everybody's going to be in danger.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald, it goes on and on. They're still selling that to the public. There's some resistance to the public. Maybe it's growing a bit due to people like yourself and others that are telling it the way it is. But I mean, it's such a machine, such a propaganda machine. And I've been in the media for most of my adult life, and I've seen the change myself. The media was always slanted one way or another, but not to the extent it is today. And now we're straight news stories, allegedly, are reading like editorials, and people don't even know the difference anymore. I mean, there's no straight mass media, mainstream media left that you could turn to without, doubting it right from the beginning. You can't automatically assume that anything they're telling us is true.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. They released Osama bin Laden's letter to America. Did you hear about that recently? I read the whole thing. I read it, the whole thing. A lot of what he said is factual.
Yeah.
He goes, some American writers, they were talking about back then, have published articles under the title, quote, "On what basis are we fighting?" End quote. These articles have generated a number of responses, some of which adhere to the truth and were based on Islamic law, others which have not. Here we wanted to outline the truth. This is that letter he wrote, as an explanation and warning. Whilst it goes on to say, why are we fighting? Why are we fighting and opposing you? Why are we what are we calling you to? And what do we want from you? As to the first question, we are fighting and opposing you. The answer is very simple. Because you attack and continue to attack us. It's 2002.
Yeah.
Totally true.
And does Israel actually think that by devastating Gaza, they're not going to create a new generation of kids that want revenge, a new generation of terrorists and extremists? Now, again, nothing justifies that savagery, but where does it come from? What did they expect?
Yeah.
After all these years, Gaza, as you said, 25 miles long, 5 miles wide, 2.1 million people packed together. The conditions are horrible, and they expect no resistance.
He goes on to say, because you attacked us and continue to attack us. You attack us in Palestine. Palestine, which sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years. The British handed over Palestine with your help, your support to the Jews, and who have occupied it for more than 50 years. Years overflowing with oppression, tyranny, crimes, killing, expulsion, destruction, and devastation. The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. So, in my book, which was an international bestseller, Trends 2000, that I wrote in 1996, I wrote about Crusades 2000. This is your Trends Journal magazine when it was a quarterly. Now it's a weekly, as you know, almost 200 pages a week. You get audio. The grand total is $2.86 a week, nothing. And we're giving what nobody else in the world is giving. We tell you what in the world is going on and what's going to go on. And we give you the analysis and trend forecast so you know we're not skewing the data. So we write what they're reporting and then we give our trends analysis and trend forecasts. So, you know, it's not skewed. This is the way we see it. This is where we see it going. You see that cover? You see what it says? Crusades 2000. I wrote about this in this book. Now, here's what we said in 2006. While the seeds of Crusades 2000 had been planted in full view of the world, and all those watching could have anticipated the eventual harvest, the memories of what had happened and what would occur have been fogged by rigid ideology, fanatical religiosity, patriotic fervor, government propaganda, and ulterior motives. Again, when we first forecast Trends 2000, over a decade ago, that was in this book in 1996, is 2006, we went on to say that the formal battle lines for the new Crusades had been drawn when Israel was created in 1948. Then we go on to say, regardless of what England's reasons or intentions were, self-serving or otherwise, Crusades 2000 was set in motion by the 1917 Balfour Declaration that laid the foundation for Israel. This is the quote from the Balfour Declaration. His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use its best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. Wait a minute. His Majesty's government? Who are you talking to? You mean the crime syndicate that they call a royal family over there in the UK? 1917, when the sun never set on the British Empire? Killing millions and hundreds of millions, by the way, in India, they report. From what everything the English did, almost 200 million people died. Who the hell are you to say what should be going on in Palestine? His Majesty's government. This is the clown show of the recent His Majesty's government with King Charles. Look at the way these guys are dressed up in this stupid drag in these uniforms and the clowns. Look at this freak show. These are the people that decided there should be, the Jewish people should take over Palestine. Who are they to do that? And then the murderer who slaughtered back only a couple 100,000 people in Nagasaki and Hiroshima with the atom bomb, Harry Truman. Hey, I'm telling the UN what to do because there's nobody. America's at the top right now. 1948, everybody's destroyed. We're going to give that land to Jewish people. And they threw the Nakba. They threw all the, some 900,000 Palestinians out of their homes. And then in 1967, settlements. Yeah. Settlements. Isn't that a nice word? How about stealing land? Could you use that word? Who else could get away with stealing this land in violation of the Geneva Conventions and Article 242 of the United Nations? And now, with the Israel war going on, they slaughtered some, I think the number is about 350 people in the West Bank. They don't talk about the thousands that they've thrown in jail and throwing thousands out of their homes as they're stealing more land. And if you come out against us, they say you're anti-Jewish and you're an anti-Semite. Again, as I say, 3 of my last 4 girlfriends were Jewish. My best friends are Jewish. So don't save your crap for somebody else. And the people running Israel are not Semites. They're Ashkenazis from Eastern Europe. Semites are Palestinians from the Mesopotamia region. So save your BS line and shove it. Total crap. They're not Semites.
Yeah, you know, Gerald, there's a distinction between being anti-Semitic and merely criticizing the policies of the Netanyahu government or a particular government. You know, I make this comparison, and I'll get in trouble just for making this comparison. You know, we're both Italian American. So if you criticized Mussolini during the Second World War, did that make you automatically generally anti-Italian? No.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you criticized Hitler during the Second World War and you were talking to a German person, did that make you anti-German generally? No, it made you anti-Hitler. Now I'm going to be getting flack that I'm making a comparison to Hitler and all that baloney. But you know what I'm saying. It's a
Oh,
valid
yeah.
comparison. To criticize the policies of a particular government in Israel is not anti-Semitism.
Perfectly said. Thank you. I'm going to repeat that. And as you well know, I launched Occupy Peace because I criticize America's murderous wars. I am not anti-American. I am a true American patriot that stands for what our founding fathers found this country on. And the one is no foreign entanglements. As George Washington's farewell address makes perfectly clear, this crap has been going on for thousands of years. We're not going to fix it.
And as General Eisenhower said in his farewell address as president, four-star, the leader of the Normandy invasion, a Republican, no airhead liberal, he warned about the untoward influence of the military-industrial complex. And that was so many decades ago. Imagine how influential it is now.
Yeah. Oh, look who's out. Look who plays our defense secretary, a murderer, an Iraqi murderer, General Lloyd Austin. That was a general in Iraq on a war based on lies. Fact, based on lies, were no weapons of mass destruction. Oh, what was his last job? Oh, you mean sitting on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor in the United States?
Are you suggesting there's a conflict of interest there?
Yeah, right. It's not, again, what Eisenhower warned. He also warned that's robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. And here we are, America rotting in front of everybody's eyes, along with the infrastructure. Look at our subway system. It's third world. Our rail system. Oh, talking about Palestine. Hey, all you people in East Palestine, Ohio, aren't you happy? Oh, isn't life great after that crap train derailed that's been, 2 miles long, filled with garbage and chemicals, deadly chemicals? Isn't it great to go into New York and see all the homeless, or San Francisco or LA, and all the refugees all over the streets?
Gerald, Buttigieg was right on top of that East Palestine.
Yeah, right. Buttigieg,
what's a few homeless here and there, about the deteriorating quality of America? You're such a pessimist, Gerald. You look on the dim side of things all the time. Where would that lead us? Maybe to some enlightenment. Gerald, the state of the nation, is not positive right now, and it's only thanks to people like yourself that there may be some rays of illumination to make things better if enough people see the light. So, Gerald Celente, once again, thank you for your insight. Thank you for being with us and telling it like it really is. Thanks.
Thank you. And of course, anybody that wants to get the Trends Journal, let's go to trendsjournal.com, trendsjournal.com. $2.86 a week, a lousy cup of coffee. And if you don't like it, you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We're giving you what nobody else in the world is giving you in a magazine. Nothing comes close to it.